What's up, everybody? Today we're going to talk about fishing chatterbaits, specifically the Jackhammer. Alrighty, so let's start real quick with the difference between an original and a Jackhammer. The original is what, $5? The Jackhammer is anywhere from $15 and up, depending on which flavor you get, what size you get. And cost has always been a big factor when it comes to buying fishing stuff. I'm looking for good value. I don't want to buy something if it doesn't make any sense. Don't go by the car. There's nothing about that makes financial sense. The original chatterbait, I caught a few fish on it, but I never caught on to what people were talking about when it comes to chatterbait fishing. You know, I'd see it online, people were just wrecking them on chatterbaits, and I'd go out there and throw it for a little bit and just couldn't get behind it. I love spinnerbait fishing. I could throw a spinnerbait, caught my personal best on a spinnerbait, like a 9-pounder. I don't know, I didn't have a scale on it, but it was giant, trust me. Anyway, so the original chatterbait, caught a couple fish on it, but it always felt like it wasn't working, right? You cast it out there, you got to kind of rip it, you feel the blade go, you hit something, a little piece of grass, and the blade stalls, and you got to rip it again, and it keeps going. So that was my initial chatterbait experience, and I just wasn't in love with it. So then I finally bit the bullet and bought a Jackhammer. Let's just see what it's all about. People post about it, some people love it, some people don't care, some people didn't say it makes any difference. I think the tactical bassin guys probably talked me into it because, you know, they're right. It's substantially better. The biggest factor for me is not the hook, it's not the keeper, it's not the detail in the head. It's going to be the effectiveness of the blade itself. But when you throw a Jackhammer, you can crawl this thing and you can feel that blade thump. Especially if you're using like a braid to leader, you feel this thing working all the time. You get a little grass on it, you get a little reel twitch, and it's thumping again. And you can crawl this thing and feel it thump. You cannot do that with an original chatterbait. And if it catches fish or not, I don't care. It gives me confidence that it's working well. That's the biggest thing when it comes to original chatterbait versus a Jackhammer for me. I have nothing but Jackhammers now. I've given away my original chatterbaits. I put them on my son's rod, let him get them snagged up or whatever, don't care. I'm a Jackhammer guy. I am on the bandwagon. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Anyway, next after that, not only does it have an excellent thump, but it does have more detail on it. The keeper is better, and the hook is much better. The hook on original chatterbait is just absolute garbage. This one is super sharp when it comes to single hooks. Now let's talk about the baits. I have a couple different colors. I don't like to go crazy when it comes to colors. I am more of a guy that has 3 to 4 tops on any given bait when it comes to color. I don't need every color under the sun. It doesn't matter to me. I feel like fish are after profile. You can tweak it with color. I'm not good enough to know when a color is really working well or could be working better. Some people claim to do that. That's just not me. So this one is Firecraw. This one was the best thing you can get a couple of years ago. Some guy caught it, won a couple tournaments on it, or a big tournament. I don't even remember, but you couldn't get them for a while. This is Firecraw. I've caught some fish on it lately. Just recently I bought one. This is paired up with a Z-Man Elastec razors in the Firecraw flavor. Super durable. You know, this is a trailer that you put on until you lose this bait, pretty much. It's going to be on there. It's going to hold up. It's going to work just fine. And it is designed to be used behind a chatterbait as well. This is Firecraw. The other colors I like to use are just any natural shad profile. And then the other one I personally catch most of my fish on is Brett's Bluegill. And my lake has a lot of bluegill forage in it, and it also has a gold blade on it, which I think is a big factor when it comes to it. Pay attention to the color of the blade when it comes to chatterbaits. You'll notice this one is black. Some of them are painted. Some of them are clear, like the Stuff style. The Brett's Bluegill, I think, is the only color. There may be like a green shad one that has a gold blade as well, and then some of them are silver blades. I think that's a factor. You see that the paint's coming off this one a little bit right here, and it's silver underneath it. So if you want a Firecraw, and I've done this before, if you want a Firecraw but with a silver blade, if you're a car guy, you have some brake cleaner, hit this with brake cleaner and a paper towel, and this paint comes right off. And now you have a silver bladed Firecraw that nobody else has. So keep that in mind. If there's a certain color that you want, you can tweak with it a little bit if it's already painted and just take the paint off of it. It's super easy to do. You're not going to tear anything up. I would like to keep it off this and keep it off the head paint, right? Just kind of hold it or hit it with a towel, use some brake cleaner, and it'll come right off. Probably nail polish remover, acetone, any of that stuff will take it right off. So one more thing on the chatterbaits is storing them. They're kind of a pain to store. They don't really fit in a spinnerbait box. They're kind of in a jig box, but they're, you have trailers on them a lot. And if you're using like an Elastic, there's no reason to take the trailer off. It'll be good to go next time. I've just picked up one of these. This is, see if I can get the light right. This is the Plano Edge 3700. I guess they call it bladed jig box. I'm probably going to dump these out showing it to you, but you can see it kind of holds, the head of the bait is right above this little fork, and then I have the blade above it. These little guys are adjustable, so I have room for a trailer. I keep my swim jigs in it as well as some chatterbaits, but it's been a pretty good way to go to keep them all in one spot. Anyway, give that a try. They weren't all that expensive on Amazon a couple weeks ago. I think I paid $15 for it. Amazon messes with their prices of these edge boxes a lot. You can also find them used, which typically, I bought a couple of used ones and I don't even know why they were used. They were brand new, ready to go. They had all the stuff on them and all the dividers in it. I did a video, I put it up here on the card on finding deals on Amazon. Definitely bought a lot of edge boxes off of Amazon deals. When it comes to retrieves, I don't do a whole lot of variation with it. I do a straight retrieve with a couple of reel twitches. And if you use the Jackhammer, you'll notice that with a quick reel twitch that it will change directions, or it will kind of loop around. You'll get a lot more movement out of the bait with a reel twitch. So it'll come along and you rip, and it'll dart around and then just kill it and pick it back up again. Again, if you're using a Jackhammer, you can reel, stop, and then start reeling again, and that sucker's going to start thumping again as soon as you start moving it. That the original Jackhammer, or the original chatterbait, will not do. Okay, so that's one of my normal retrieves, is cast it out there, swim it mid-column, swim it at the top of the grass, slow, steady retrieve with like a 7.4 to 1, and then rip, and then keep going. Rip, stop, keep going. And those rips, I can definitely attribute to a lot more fish, especially if you're a bank fisherman. Definitely give it a rip, stop before you pull the bait out of the water. If you have a fish that's running behind this thing and you try and dart away and then kill it, they're going to catch up to it, and then it's going to be in their face and they can't help but eat it. I've got more fish on the bank using a lipless or a chatterbait by going fast and killing it and getting those fish to commit right before I pull it out of the water. They're not going to bite it anyway if you just keep doing the same thing, so you might as well try and do a little bit of a trick to see if you can convince them to do it. So I'm going to replay that one again, but watch real closely. That fish hits just as soon as I stop the reel. Okay, so here's another example. Just as I stop this reel, that fish hooks up.
When I put it in the boat, it's broke.
Can you get the net for me?
Yeah, Mondo.
When it comes to rod and reel, I found myself using a heavy action rod. Most people would probably go with something a little bit lighter, but for me, this has worked fantastic. I have excellent hookups when it comes to chatterbait fishing. It's very effective at ripping grass off the bait. There's two trains of thought when it comes to getting grass off of a chatterbait. Some people like to use a moderate action so that the chatterbait will load up in the grass, and then when it comes loose, it will accelerate out of the grass, right? It will come up to speed. If you're using a heavy rod or a fast tip rod and you rip it, especially with braid, that bait will go from grass to 3 feet away like that. And you'll blow right past a fish that might have been kind of looking at it while it was hung up in the grass. So there's two different trains of thought, but if you're not fishing grass, I prefer a fast action rod. This is a 13 Fishing Fate black rod, 7'4", heavy power, extra fast tip, rated from 3/8 to 1.5 ounces. Throwing it on 50-pound braid to 16-pound leader. I feel like a leader makes a little bit of a difference when it comes to chatterbaits. I like having a little bit of stretch to it, and I think that the fish can see it. It is a moving bait, but it's not moving super fast. Reel is a Corrado 200K HG, so this is a 7.4 to 1, And again, I do pretty much all my action with the reel handle. I don't like ripping the rod unless I'm trying to get grass off of it. So I'll do the reel twitches with just the reel with imparting no action onto the rod. As far as when to fish it, basically spring, summer, early fall, chatterbait will get you bit. I just caught one on it this morning here at the end of December, but we have way abnormally warm water. I think with the colder water, I start to lean towards reds. Warmer water, I would stick more towards the natural profiles of a shad color, a bluegill color. And if you have super muddy water, you can go with a chartreuse or a cookie cutter black and blue would be a good way to go. I prefer to fish it when there's some sort of chop on the water, much like you would a spinnerbait or a lipless. If it's dead calm, I don't really like throwing something that's making a lot of ruckus. And I will also experiment with this back to back with something like a lipless. Right, so this is going to do a lot for the fish's lateral line while making no sound. It thumps when you pull this jackhammer through the water, much like you get with like a lipless, but the lipless is typically making a lot of noise. So I will run down a stretch of bank, I'll throw a jackhammer, then I'll follow it up with a lipless, and then I'll go back to the jackhammer. I'm going to play with those two. If I feel like the bite is going to be on one of those two moving baits, I will play with them and see what they want. It's very easy to just get on one. Just like the other day I was fishing, I was throwing this bait, couldn't get bit, and I alternated back to the red craw, red eye shad 2-tap, and I started catching fish on it. Very similar bait, right? I mean, they're both thumping when it comes to the water, but that particular day they wanted the rattle of the lipless bait. So keep that in mind if you're trying to get a chatterbait or chatterbait bite going or a lipless bite going. Alternate. This is a very good companion bait. Having two rods set up, one of each, is a good way to approach figuring out what the fish want. That's something I go with all the time. So I picked up a lot of confidence with this bait this year. I definitely recommend giving a jackhammer a try if you haven't already. It may financially wreck you, but they do work a lot better. Anyway, I appreciate everybody coming along, and I appreciate a like and subscribe from me if you'd like to see more content like this. I'll be doing more bait breakdowns. Thanks again. We'll see you next time. Good luck. Yes! You broke it right at the knot. Oh, that's awesome!
I knew you were.
High five! Nice!
I knew you